Uh, Good morning, or afternoon, evening, depending on where you're at. This is the eighth class today of the Family Book Reader, the settings. So we're going to be covering the fonts and styles and privacy function tabs in Family Book Reader. I'm going to start with the privacy first, and just to explain, I modified my tree a little bit, just so I'm going to just explain it now. What I did is I added a fictitious relationship with John F. Kennedy with Marilyn Monroe. I mean, I know there's been rumors. I don't know, maybe they're true. I haven't really said it. But then I did specify that they had a child. You know, it's made up. It's just as an example. Marilyn Monroe did die in 62, but for certain purposes, I assumed that she was still living and that this child passed away. But that's either near or there. But for these examples, this is in the tree. So anyway, we'll get that out of the way and we'll go to Startup Family Book Creator. So we're gonna the fonts and styles, and then the privacy. Now, first off, well, let's just I'm going to just reset these settings for right now. Okay, so right now all privacy is turned off. If this is unchecked, it's turned off. Then you do have the option of like who do you want this privacy to be to pertain to. If you want it like the default is like less than 30 years ago, or been married 80 years ago, or born less than 110 years ago. Or you can just simply check, say, use privacy protection only for living individuals. And then you can tell it whether or not, okay, you can just exclude people totally. So it will pretend they do not even exist. Let me just, So here's just kind of a standard thing, you know, basically there's no privacy. JFK, but then, you know, it's showing the living descendants, and, you know, there's basically, and they'll show any details. If we do tell it to exclude, to exclude them totally, then, you know, it's going to get down to, you know, it shows JFK, but, you know, see here, notice it only lists the two child. It does not list Caroline. So if we go over here, you know, Caroline's listed, but Caroline's still living. So it just pretends she does not even exist. And I mean, it even states, you know, that basically they just had two kids. They don't even mention Caroline. You know, we're here, you know, here she's mentioned. You've also got the option of, say, omit the details, but it will just list just the names. So it won't list any details about her. But, you know, so it doesn't display her picture. It just literally just displays her name, and that's it. And likewise, Carolyn married Edward. Okay, Edwin, there is a death fact, but no information. You know, it just lists just their name. You've also got the option of, say use living and deceased. So in which case, then it would just say, living Kennedy for Caroline. So someone who's still living, you know, married, so, uh, or you got the option of just saying private, so it doesn't even give the surname. In which case, then it just says private, it doesn't even give the surname. So, you do have a lot of options. There's also options where omit people details and descendants. Because that would be something, where if, maybe say here you had a child that died, but the mother is still living. If the mother is still living, it'd be privatized and then privatize the children too. I am working with Stefan. He's looking into it. That seems to only work if it's the primary person. So if JFK was, say, living, in this one example with Marilyn, this Mary Candy still showed, but anyway, in theory, that's what. Sorry, I closed this. That's what that would do. Well, okay. Before I do it now, there's also other options with Family Book Creator in the and in the manual. Like I said, I've stressed this enough. If you haven't downloaded this manual, please do. If nothing else, print out this 2-page appendix. Family Book Creator does have this FBC privacy protection fact type. So this would be, maybe someone's got an ex they don't want in the book, especially if maybe if they didn't have any children. You can use this custom fact FBC privacy protection, and then you in the description field you could put the word suppress, and then they would pretend that person does not even exist. So with this candy, if I put in this FBC, well, I didn't. If I put in this FBC privacy protection fact or with the word suppress, now I just got to get back here. Yeah, then you'll see here, okay, it says John F. Kennedy had, okay, Mary Kennedy with an unknown person, because I had her excluded. And let's see, then I think then if you want it to also exclude, yeah, this you might have to eliminate, because here's where I put it to that child Mary too. That did still leave this, even though both the Marilyn and Mary were told to be excluded. So you might have to manually remove that in Word. And then let's see, what did I do with this one? Oh, yeah. And with this, because this is even some stuff, in the group, I've told people, okay, use this privacy protection fact. But if you do not turn on the privacy feature, right here, then that the FBC, this fact type will do no good if you don't enable the privacy. And usually what I do is just put in zeros for these values. This is kind of how I have it standard. This will not privatize anyone unless you check this. But by having this enabled, it does enable the use of that custom fact type. So, and then with the privacy, you've got the options for the parenthetical lineage. That's just the, that's just these for what generation they are. If you have it, let's see here. Yeah, I didn't do anything. So that would just remove that hyphenation. Same thing with the color coding. It just wouldn't use the color codes for privatized people. So, do we have any questions on privacy before we go to fonts and styles? Either put it in the chat or unmute yourself. Charlene's got a question. Either put the, can you make Caroline's spouse private? Yes. Yeah, all you'd have to do is use this FBC Privacy Protection Act and add it to him. And like I said, the reason why he's showing is and the reason why he's showing is because there is a death fact for him. Let's just get here. Yeah, let's go to Caroline and Edwin and see there is a death fact for him. So that's why he's showing. Can you privatize? Donna said, can you privatize a custom military fact so that only the preferred fact is used? Yeah, that doesn't really go into the privacy feature, but yeah, you can. I mean, you can privatize any fact. I mean, I could privatize this death fact if you want. And if you only want for certain things, for the fact where you've got multiples, like military residents, or maybe you only want the preferred fact to do it, well, that's all in here. You select fact and then and then you can just tell it only print the preferred fact. So like I said, that's not really about this privacy feature in here, but anyway. Are there any other questions before I proceed? Okay, we're going to go on to fonts and styles. Let's see. Now here you basically you can specify the font size, the style, regular, bold, italics, whether it's left justified, centered, right, or left, right, justified, or center. For family chart, let's just get back to, here we go. Also, the family chart, I don't have reference numbers typed in here, but that would be for that fact. Given name, the last name, lifespan. So this first thing here, this is the given name. surname, and then the lifespan. You can specify the fonts for each of these sections. And then on down reports, for what's in the parent, notes, you could have maybe notes bolded so they stand out more. The big thing is like, see, I've got my default Verdana. I don't know. I think the default might be Tahoma. Well, here, let's just reset to the default settings. Okay, it is Verdana. And let's just say, I really don't want this font. I want, say, Arial or something. You can go up to default here, and you can specify the font you want. Maybe just type the first letter, and then that will change the default down here, unless you've specified something else. Let's just say on reference number, let's just say I want that to more be like Lucidia console. I want it kind of be more of a blocky character. Everything else is the same here. And then let's just say if you go back and say, well, maybe I don't want Arial after all. I want, I don't know, Britannic bold. Okay, it changed those I didn't change, but see this reference number, I changed that to 1, so it did not change that. And any others that you would have changed. Same thing if you go into point size, it's like, well, okay, it's older people, they're going to be reading, maybe I want the default size to be 14. It will bump up only those that are the default setting. Sometimes like for last name, sometimes you'll get that, where maybe it won't word wrap, so maybe I'll drop that a point size, but then I'll make it bold. So someone asked, does reset settings only reset the settings for the tab you're on? No, that will reset for everything. Because since I hit reset, I mean, even my title page has gone back to the default dedication forward, it resets it for everything. So you don't want to use it willy-nilly. I just did it, just as an example. So let me just go back to these standards. And they're all fonts usable by most publishers. Actually, for Bob asked that. When you save the book, what you want to do is you want to save it in, let's see. Oh, yeah. When you want to save it, you want to actually save it in a PDF/A format. And even if you do settings in edits in Word does have the option to save it in PDF, and it's got an option to save it in PDF/A. What this will do is it embeds all fonts into the PDF document. And then that way they're sure that it's going to print the way you want it to print. So, yeah, because then, I also generally like it to justify, and that kind of gives a more professional look. And if you ever aren't sure exactly, okay, what each of these elements are, because especially when you get down here into the like, okay, what's heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, What you can do, well, I can tell you, let's see, get here. Let's just jump up here. You know, these contents, these are like heading one. Introduction, I think this is heading, I think that's typically like heading style 2. And then these are like heading style 3, 4. But if you ever aren't quite sure, uh, um, if you ever aren't quite sure what it is, what I will do sometimes, and I know in Word there's a way you can actually do it, but what I do is I will change, okay, I'm not sure exactly what that is, so I'm going to just change this to a unique font. Like, okay, stick a display. This one I'm going to make uh, MS Gothic, just something like that. I'm going to make that one Arial. And then when you create a book, uh, save it in Word format. Well, you can save it in Word format. Uh, I'll just recreate this book just because I'm not sure which which fonts I picked when I did the example. Someone said, can you still add the book using the word if PDF/A is selected? You're only going to use PDF/A for your final book. Say everything's ready. Send this to the printer. I mean, that's what you use PDF/A. Normally, if you're just going to send to friends, you can just do a PDF. Okay, so create the book. So now you're going to bring up the find, and do more, and then in format, you can say, let me just go back to, okay, Sitka display. Okay, so I'm going to just find it. Okay, so contents, that uses the heading 1 format. Introduction, family, historic, person, descendants. So MS Gothic for heading 2, you know, so here, same thing. Font, let's look for MS Gothic. Oops. Okay, it's not there. Well, that might be because, whoops, that font. Let's go to that MS Gothic. Okay, so yeah, so heading 2 in my case is not used at all. But then let me go to Arial. And you can see, okay, so the family of Edwin, you know, so those sections. So the family sections, that's what uses heading 3. So like I said, so that's one way if you're wondering exactly what those settings are, just set it to a unique font. And then, like I said, you can always change it back once you're happy with it, so you know exactly what font it is doing. So like I said, okay. that happens. So yeah, so basically, are there any questions about this? I mean, this is probably going to be a short class. The
John, do we do all of these settings prior to starting our book?
what do you
Like,
mean?
well, if you want your title a certain font and style, do you go here first before you start with your introduction or title and all of that? Do you come here first and set those fonts and styles the way you want them?
Me personally, I would get it's like anything when ever I do anything in Word, it's like I get the data in there first and I worry about the formatting later. So it's like so for Family Book Creator, I want to make sure uh at least the text is all printing the way I want to print, and then I can play with the font styles later
But
and
wouldn't
sizes.
that help if you had it all predetermined so that when you see your book, you know it all fits correctly on the pages and all of that.
Yes, yes, yeah. You will want to do
That's what
that.
I'm thinking. I don't want to recreate my document after I've worked on this whole section and then come back and format it in the styles and fonts I want. Now the book is all kawaki looking, so I'd rather make sure when I first start that my everything's going to fit and it's going to be right the correct format.
Yeah, yeah, because I would set the fonts before I start working with media. I always do media last
Mm.
because that determines, okay, which page does it go? Do I want this font, this picture to be a little bigger, swapping order? Because I can determine where you want some pictures placed just based on how uh, it fits on the book. Is there like in the section, is there going to be room for one picture or two pictures?
Because I
But
mean,
yeah,
if you start out in Word and you're just using a font size of 12, uh, and all of a sudden you say, well, that's not big enough, and you change it, it's going to throw everything off on your page.
yeah,
So
but
that's why I'm saying, isn't it better to come here first, plan your book ahead of time, as much as you can, as far as your headings and your title page and those sort of things. Get that in your mind how you want to set your book up first, and that way you don't have to keep going back and forth and fixing and making sure it all fits on the page.
yeah, that yes. I mean, do whichever works best for you. Like I said, for me, for what orders placement, it all is mostly all uh based on the media itself. So that's why I always just save the media for last. But but like I said, do it whichever way works for you.
Is there a way of putting like placeholders for pictures?
Well, just do the picture itself, but uh I know in Word you can have it in like draft mode, then it shows just a placeholder rather than the picture itself. But yeah, I mean, as far as Family Book Creator goes, it's either well include the media or don't. But like I said, when I first do it, to make sure you get all the sentence structures set up right, I turn off the photo album altogether section, uh, just so I get all the sentences correct, and then I'll turn it on, and then I can start playing around. Because at that point, I'm not going to be messing around with any of the wording and stuff. Then it's just
Okay.
going to be the order of the media and the media placement. That's the way I work anyway.
Okay.
So
And then you can kind of wiggle it around where you want it to come around. in your wording,
Right. Yeah.
depending
To make,
on your depending on your text box.
yeah, just to make better use of space on the paper and stuff like that, because if there's just a spot for one smaller picture, but then this one picture I want it, to be full page, I don't want stuff. Well, I can put two more pictures on this page, and um,
Okay.
so someone asked which font works best for distinguishing capital I's from lowercase L's. Well, I like um Verdana or Tahoma. But like I said, uh you can look with it, and like I said, you can even just go on this book item, and you can uh IILL, and then you can even or just do this in the word thing, and then you can start playing around. Okay, with that one. Okay, let's try Tahoma. That one. Let's try uh let's try Sitka display. You can just start playing around with the fonts and see what you want, and see and see what how you like them. So I mean, you can do this in Word and stuff like that just to see uh what fonts you do like. Um so that's just give or take, but in general I like that. The Verdana, I think that's the standard one. Tahoma, like I think it's a little bit smaller, but um so I generally like those. Just for me, they're just very easy on the eyes for reading.
I
So
have a, is there any way of making like, and maybe, um, Stefan will have to do this, but making that that screen that the book creator is, where it's full screen, so that we can actually see where we're setting things up, with the ruler, because this small area,
well, you can go into
I
full
can't
screen.
tell where my center is. Where, how
You
did you do that?
I just hit the it's just these arrows here. You go into full screen mode.
I'm looking, where are you?
Right to the right of preferences here.
Okay.
Okay, it's this third
Ah,
one.
I did not see that.
And likewise, if you want, you can also do this straight in Word itself.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out where I'm looking on my screen and I don't see that.
You don't see the, well, this is on the
Wait a minute,
title
you're on the
page. You got to be on the
title.
title. You got to be on one of these 5 pages.
Okay, I can't get back to where the title is. Where is it?
It's on book items.
Book items. Okay, title. Okay. Okay.
And likewise, if you want to do your title page in Word or something, you can, and then you can just open it up, point to the Word document, and load in the Word document itself. So you don't have to design it all in Family Book Creator.
Okay.
So
Okay. I just wanted to see where that, I knew there had to have been something, but, and I thought, why would you not be able to make the screen fuller?
yeah, yeah,
Because
yep,
it's so much easier to see it.
yeah, yep.
Okay.
You can set it up in full screen mode. So
And that it'll stay that way for all the different colophone dedication, all of the settings. It'll just stay that way.
well, stay what
Or
way?
just that.
That
screen.
this is just full screen just for this screen. I mean, to get
Okay.
out of this screen,
Yeah.
you have to hit the X in the upper right hand corner.
Okay.
And then you can go to the colophone dedicate or go anywhere else basically.
Okay.
But if
Got
you
it.
go into full screen mode before you can get out of this, I mean, you've got to close the full screen mode.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So on those areas that we can get a full screen. Okay.
correct,
Got it. Okay. Thank
correct.
you.
And yeah, and uh on these fonts and styles, they do have like these default fonts here for these, but this is only if you're using like the standard thing, texting, anything you put in here, it won't change that font that you've manually changed.
Okay.
Because like, well, here for this forward, this is a standard thing. If I go here and change forward and let me just do, well, here, let me just do the symbols font. If I go here, see, it didn't change anything in here. So
So you have
Bob,
to, if you want something different, then you have to go out to Word.
no, you don't have to go out to Word. I'm just saying, you know, these five sections here under the fonts and styles sections
Hmm.
have very little, they really don't have much. I mean, these are almost more of a carryover from Family Book Creator 2017, where you couldn't do all the text editing. Uh, they still will, because like if you reset the settings, so I'm just going back to the def yeah, that I don't know why that comes up, but so like call a phone, so now if I go here whoops. If I change that to say, oh, here, wide Latin, yeah, see that it did change,
Okay.
but because that's the standard. But if I said something, well, I don't want that one there, I want that to be, just say Arial black, and let's just say I want that a little bit bigger. Since I changed that now, if I go back and change this to say something else like UI Gothic, this didn't change. See, this is still Arial 14. Uh, but this changed to that UI Gothic. So that's only that this only defaults changes whatever the default text was for those if you use just the default text for those 5 pages. So um someone said I forgot how to save settings once you get them. Well, first off, whenever you exit, the settings are automatically saved, but you do have a save settings here. So if you would want to save them to go back to something else, uh, but like if you got something set, here you exit, you come back into it, um, and the settings are going to be however you last used them, or
Where does it
however
where does it save those settings?
it's just saved internally. It's probably saved in the registry or whatever the Mac equivalent, or I honestly don't know. It stores it
Would it,
somewhere in the computer. But
so
like
is
I
it,
said, you can manually save it, click on the preferences, and then, because I've got a variety of,
but what if you don't want all that clutter in your computer? How do you clean that out? I mean, that shouldn't save to your uh,
well,
computer
it's
unless
only
it's
one set
somewhere.
of settings that it saves. And I mean, every program has some default settings it saves. I mean, the only way to not have it save is to not use the program. And I mean, that goes with any program you use, any
Okay.
program. It's not like these settings are building up,
Okay.
you know.
Okay. That was my
Yeah, I mean, the
worry.
only
Okay.
things are when you specifically save them, and
Okay.
then you save them there, then you can clear them out whenever you want. And like I said,
Okay. And that's when you would actually go to the oh, where is it? Save. Yeah, save as. Okay, got it.
yeah, yeah, because like I said, I've got things like I'm doing like for these Kennedy things, but then it's like I've got settings for, each book I do, um, just because they'll have separate title page because they might have different picture here. Definitely a different dedication page, maybe even the forward or introduction might be different. So,
When we are creating our book, like you're on headings right here. Say we do it all in Word and we put in our, thing for headings and we're going through title and uh, our headings and our subheadings and that sort of thing. Is the book creator, is it going to recognize that when we pull it back in?
in
If I'm creating a book in Word and I want to go ahead and now I'm uploading it into my book, is it going to save the formats that I've created?
well, I'm more curious how you're bringing it back into Family Book Creator.
Well, I understand that you can do your book in Word and upload it into Book Creator, right?
You can do sections in it and attach it to people, and then
Okay.
Family Book Creator can incorporate that. That's like what Rebecca Shamblin does for, like, she did like 20 key people, but she created a Word document, added it to the person to have them bring that in.
Okay.
You're not doing the entire book in Word and stuff. So
Okay. It's just the sections. So
yeah.
are there certain headings or anything that we should be using for those sections?
Well, Family Book Creator will create them, because they're the sections for the people themselves.
Okay.
They're the sections for these. Like Family Book Creator creates these sections. Uh, but like what Rebecca does is, like, say, instead of doing this, or like this media for, say, John F. Kennedy, she'll actually have the Word document that will come in, uh, and she usually won't print out a lot of these details. And
Mm-hmm.
so,
Yeah, because I think I'd like to have, well, you could probably do a little bit of both, couldn't you?
yeah, well, that's what Rebecca does. It's like, it's
Yeah. Okay.
so, uh, Dorina, since there's a dedication introduction, please explain what the purpose of having the colophon and forward. I'm sure you can look it up in standard book stuff, what those things are, but typically, like, colophon just has, like I said, compiled, copyright. I mean, if you look at any book that usually has something like that. Forward is just like an intro. It's another story. Like I said, any book things, and like I said, you don't have to include these if you don't want to. Just uncheck them, and you don't have to include them. So, uh, So you have to set each of the first pages separately. Donna, I don't know if you're talking about these pages. I mean, these are like the only 5 you can completely do it. There are certain standard or keywords it can use, but this is all covered in, I think, the first book or second class. I guess otherwise I'm not exactly sure what you mean, Donna. Bob said, yeah, then I can save settings for each book. Looks like I then have to go to load settings to find the settings I want, right? Well, like I said, you only have to change and load settings like if you're either experimenting and want to try something, so you can save them. So I was like, well, okay, I'm going to try this. Or like if you're switching books, like I said, I'm always in the habit of loading because, well, especially with family book creators, like I'm always tweaking stuff because people got a question about this, so I'll try it. But like I said, if you've got standard settings, like here's my like Hull settings, because that will have the title, these are my great grandparents, dedication, but like I said, I don't have to resave these settings unless I actually go through and say, oh, you know what, I want to change this or I want to change that, and uh, I want to change how some of the names are done, or I probably won't bother changing it if I switch between a Descendants book or an Ancestors book, but so that's the only reason why you'd need to save the settings, or like I said, if you want to experiment and play.
John,
Yeah.
my question, just to clarify my question, I was just asking if the fonts change all of those pages with one change, or do you go into each page and change the fonts?
Well, no, the font is all done on this one site, or not unless you're referring to just the title.
Well, like if you go into general and you set your font, and then do you have to go into name formats and set that font? Or and then the same with dedication, and do you have to
Oh,
reset each one?
well, like I said, you can change the fonts here. Like I said, you can change them globally here. But like I said, but if you want to, in these 5 pages, you can change them if you want. And if you do load in anything, like say if I do change this to like Poma, if I'd ever change that to say something else like Sheffield or something, then if I change it here, if I change that dedication here to this, that won't change this. It because I've already set the fonts in this. So, and this isn't the default text anyway. But see, like here, this is the default text, so this did change. So, I don't know, did that clarify that? Or is
Yeah, I
it
think
clear as mud?
it's confusing
Yeah.
because one way it changes and one way it doesn't.
It all depends on the default text. So I mean, if you don't ever change if you don't ever edit any of these, then you don't have to worry about it. Otherwise, it's like these 5 are the most customizable that I would probably just go in. Me personally, I wouldn't worry about the font sizes for these 5 pages in this particular section, because then I can just set them to whatever I want here. Because it's like I said, I change stuff, and but like I said, you can, like, maybe first thing you could decide is what's the standard font you do like. Uh, you know, whether it's Verdana, the Tahoma, I think that's the one Verdana is the default. I think I like Tahoma, but like some people might like Times New Roman, some might like the sans serif, uh, you know, something like that, you know. Um, I mean, you've just got those options that you can play with. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. Uh, let's see. Yeah, and for those settings, like I said, and if you like I said, if you got everything like, okay, yep, this is the font I like, this is this, and say you've got different settings for, you know, your different family lines, you've done it, you know, where basically you want to keep these 5 pages and you just don't want to remember, okay, okay, what setting did I tweak here? You know, especially when it comes down to here, you know, there's like a lot of settings here, you know. Um, you can also save these in you go to the save down. You can save it in Family Book Creator 2017 format. That will save just your settings, uh, but it won't change these 5 pages. So sometimes, like I'll do, um, so I'll save those like in the master format. So then if I go to load my settings, so okay, I'm going to load my candy settings, but it's like, okay, I know I changed some of my default settings. So now this is, well, I load the candy, so like the title page is there, that forwards there. But see, now I could say load my, I've got them like new master, and see that says BCS format rather than FBCS. FBCS is the 2019 format. BCS is the 2017 format. So I can load in those settings. Uh, yeah, change that image quality, but it did not change these 5 pages. So that's the way I get around to if I find a new way of how I want to do stuff, and uh, without having to remember each setting for if I go in to do, okay, I'm doing one for the hull side, or the Waller side, the Fossbender side, the Fieldstead side, you know. Um, that's one way you can do it. Let me just see. If you customize the text font, changing the text, changing the font for the default will not be changed on any customized font change. Yep. Randy said your FBC says licensed to John Foster. Mine says licensed distributed by Software Makia. Why the difference? It all depends upon where you bought it from. If you get it directly from Family Book Creator, it'll be your name. If you buy it through Software Makia, you're gonna get that license distributed by them. That's why. So that's why. And same thing goes with Charting Companion too, I believe. So it's just where you got it from. So are there any other questions? If not, we'll see you next week, and which will be the last class for the text and page layout. Uh, so we'll be covering these 2 tabs, and then the about section, which really isn't there. There's not a lot to that, but we're covering all the tabs, so I threw that in. So anyway, but okay, well, if there's no other questions, I'll sign off and this should be online within a couple hours. So, and we'll see you everyone next week, hopefully. So take care.
Thank you, John.
Yep.